And that's the thing is now it's accepted to the point of I'm going to be the Joker. I'm going to be your new hero. I'm going to be the one to finally do it, but not only do it, but give you permission to do it as well. Now you can all join me now that you know we're all capable of doing this. Look how many I got. How many can you get? That's what it's starting to be. And eventually those people are going to organize, and they're not going to be lone radicals. They're going to be groups and militias and factions. And because that's right there, what I'm seeing right now is an open market. I see thousands of disaffected American youth ripe for the taking. If you have the right club or organization and you come in, and I'm not talking like things like Sunrise Movement or Black Lives Matter or anything like that. I'm talking like some real jihadi shit. These kids are ready to go. All they have to do is be recruited. And I think that's what we're seeing on college campuses right now. I think that amongst the chaos, a lot of these kids are going to get recruited.
I think you're right about the emotion, but I don't think that a lot of these kids have the mindset for the organization that it takes to be an effective force. More
I
for
agree
a
with
lot
that.
of individual chaos. So
I agree with that. I'm just worried about the people that do. It's not to say that they're going to get high up right off the bat, but they're going to be used. And I'm just worrying about what's brewing behind the scenes right now. When I think of the state of America right now, I just think of armies gathering in various different ways all across the country, happening in the shadows, weapons being brought together, men and women being brought together, plans being brought together. I really feel like we're going to see a flashpoint.
I mean, would you
And
believe
this is
that
just me, but
5 years ago I was more worried about uh, right wing radicalism and lone wolf terrorism. The growth in Antifa and of trans activism and the proliferation of jihadi ideology in the U.S. That dwarfs that as a threat.
速報です。またしても絶対に起こらないと言われていた出来事が起きました。ホワイトハウスで開催される UFC イベントを標的としたテラ計画が阻止されました。
第1段階では小型ドローンを使って怪病飢餓の周辺鉄門を攻撃する。それによって混乱が発生し大規模な避難を引き起こす。そしてそれが第段階へとつながる。狙撃手は戦略的な要点に配置され、最初の攻撃から逃れる者はここで始末し、高価値の標的も同様に対応する。続いて門を強襲する。
本当にここまでやるのか。
他に選択肢があるのか。
いや、仕事に就くって手もあるだろう。
ふざけるな。
東京によりますと、この計画には重度の精神疾病を抱えた無職の集団が関与していたとされ、FBI によって未然に阻止されました。続報が入り次第お伝えします。
Our law enforcement colleagues with the Danville Police Department and the Knox County Sheriff's Office recognized a potential threat. Their deputies and patrol officers did a tremendous job at evaluating the situation, taking immediate action, and exposing this terrorist threat, and then contacting the FBI. When the FBI began to investigate Tyson Proper, we quickly learned of the alleged plot involved multiple people across the country coordinating and planning a violent attack. The FBI notified the Secret Service, who are great partners in our efforts to protect the U.S. homeland. Command post coordinated interviews, intelligence analysis, and execution of search warrants around the country quickly identified additional participants and evidence of this conspiracy. This resulted in additional subjects being arrested by the FBI over a matter of days in several states, as mentioned, in Missouri, Nebraska, and California. Through this investigation, we learned the group allegedly planned to carry out a mass casualty attack involving the use of drones, armed with explosives, and firearms meant to shoot people fleeing in the crowds. Our command posts also included membership of the Secret Service and other partners to share information in real time and to help ensure no violence occurred at the White House UFC event or any other high-profile events. Again, the FBI would like to thank our local partners at the Knox County Sheriff's Office, the Danville Police Department, and particularly members of the Columbus Division of Police, who are an integral part of this investigation. I must commend the special agents, the task force officers, the intelligence analysts, and the other team members of the Joint Terrorism Task Force and the many other law enforcement agencies and officers around the country for their work on this case. They continue their commitment to keeping people safe and working together to protect our nation, especially the work by the United States Attorney's Office and the Southern District of Ohio, who helped us put together this case. Together, we worked long hours, ceaselessly over several weeks to investigate, make fast work of uncovering connections, and disrupting this plot. I also want to thank FBI leadership and the various supporting divisions of FBI headquarters and the many FBI field offices coast to coast who are directly involved in this investigation. They've all committed significant amount of resource to ensure this conspiracy was aggressively and thoroughly investigated. Finally, the FBI wants to remind the public how important it is to speak up when they are concerned about something and they observe something that they observe this isn't right. Again, we've all heard this saying, see something, say something. This was an excellent case of someone who was concerned by what they were seeing and contacted law enforcement before violence could occur. I encourage the public, if something does not seem right, please alert the authorities. You can always call the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI, or in an emergency, please call 911. It is our partnerships with law enforcement and with the public together that strengthen our safety nationwide. Thank you. I'll now turn it over to the U.S. Secret Service, Jason Reese.
Thanks, Jason. And good morning. My name is Jason Reese. I'm the special agent in charge of the U.S. Secret Service in Cincinnati. I'd like to begin by thanking the U.S. Attorney's Office, the U.S. Attorney and his staff, our federal and local partners at the FBI and the Joint Terrorism Task Force, and the special agents and the technical investigators who got us to this point. There is no mission of greater importance to the Secret Service than the protection of our nation's leaders. And the work put into this investigation makes that point crystal clear. When the information came in, it was a great example of how layers of law enforcement can work efficiently together. Once we had the information that we needed, the Secret Service and federal and local partners were able to identify and lawfully interrupt a communication network that gave us a roadmap to a sinister plot targeting the White House complex. Our agents and support staff are always on alert. In this case, they worked around the clock and in a short window of time in order to mitigate and interdict this threat. I'm truly grateful for their tenacity. From here, the investigation and findings will be presented in court. We'll protect the integrity of that process, and any further comments will be made through official court filings. Lastly, I want to make very clear to the public that nobody is more aware of the threats that lurk outside of our doors than the Secret Service. Rest assured that this agency's vigilance and dedication to duty will continue to keep our nation's leaders and institutions safe. I'd like to introduce to you the Deputy Chief from the Columbus Division of Police, Deputy Chief Sagal. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Rob Sagal. I'm a Deputy Chief over Special Operations Subdivision at the Columbus Division of Police. On behalf of Chief Elaine Bryant, I wanted to thank all of our federal, state, and local partners for their efforts and collaboration on this case. Ohio Homeland Security protects the public by analyzing threats, sharing intelligence, safeguarding critical infrastructure, and coordinating emergency preparedness and response. Region 4, which includes much of central Ohio, including Knox County, works together to safeguard the largest city in Ohio and anything in the region which could impact Columbus. As the largest department in the state, the Columbus Division of Police has dedicated resources to the our Homeland Security Section Counterterrorism Unit and assigned them to the statewide Terrorism Analysis and Crime Center, which is the Ohio's Fusion Center. The Fusion Center network allows us to quickly address rapidly evolving situations and threats to our city, state, and throughout the nation. We also dedicate many resources to the local FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force, and we're proud of that partnership. These efforts cannot be accomplished alone. They are successful because of the partnerships, but not just because of the partnerships with law enforcement. It's the partnerships with the communities we serve. We would like to thank everyone involved in this case who saw something, said something, and took action. This is how we work together to ensure our communities thrive and our residents feel safe showing up to large events. Thank you.
Okay, we can now take some questions.
Was Mr. Proper on anyone's radar before May?
I'm not aware of him being on anybody's radar before this concerned family member made the call to the sheriff's office.
Would this have been the first time that these eight ever met each other and have any of them?
We have some information, and I'm going to try to stick to what's been filed in these various complaints that have been filed in the indictments. But there's some information in those indictments about meetings that occurred. In particular, there's a meeting, I think it was on June 13th, between one of the subjects in Nebraska, Alvarez, and a Missouri-based subject. I think it was Mr. Rinker. So they did meet up, and certainly we have information in our complaints and in the indictment talking about how there were plans to meet up, plans for Mr. Proper to drive to West Virginia to meet up with another individual, Mr. Skaggs, in West Virginia, and one of the subjects out, or the defendants out in California, Mr. Roa, having gotten in a car, planning to drive to pick up other members of the conspiracy. But a lot of the communication, obviously, is laid out in the complaint and the indictments was online through messaging apps and things of that sort. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say how common plots are. I mean, there's, I think the internet chat groups, these encrypted applications that people use to message each other, make it more and more frequent, and they sort of embolden people to come up with plans and do these plans because they think they're not going to be detected, right? Hey, this is an encrypted app, I'm going to use that. The one, I think, really remarkable thing about what we're able to do at the federal levels, we do have these conspiracy charges and attempt charges and things of that nature. So when we get into an investigation like that, these are charges that don't require the completion of these underlying crimes. And so when we can get onto a messaging application and uncover some communications that reveal a potential plot, we have these tools federally to be able to charge individuals. We don't have to make them go all the way before we can hold them accountable and mitigate the threat. More days before the event doesn't seem like a ton of time. Yeah, I mean, I think as laid out in our charging instruments, we've got communications that kind of started, at least with respect to this type of plot, in May. So a good month before the events. Things started to seem to have crystallized sometime in the beginning of June in terms of focusing in on the UFC Freedom 250 event. And certainly when you look at the communications, there were plans to do something at that event. Drones, explosives, there was firearms amassed, ammunition amassed, body armor, plans to travel, right? So, it might seem like a condensed timeline, but the intent from the communications that we've revealed in our complaints and in our indictments show that these folks were planning to act within that time frame. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion sometimes on some of this stuff, right? So you have these chat rooms, you have certain participants in the chat rooms, and you're just trying to figure out who it is, who these folks are. And so you have a bunch of monikers being used, and you don't even know if it's one person using the same moniker or multiple monikers and that sort of thing. So I think at the beginning of the investigation, it wasn't clear how large it was going to turn out to be. And there were a number of folks involved in these chat rooms. There was a number of different chat groups that were compartmentalized, and then different levels of participation in those chat groups, right? So you had some people that maybe were lurking a little bit more and not really participating, some people that were fully participating, and then sort of anywhere in between in that spectrum. So It wasn't clear how big it was going to turn out to be, we've charged these 8 folks right now, but the investigation is going to continue until I think we feel, and the FBI feels, and the Secret Service and our law enforcement partners feel that we've charged everybody that we think needs to be charged in relation to this plot.
Do you anticipate more charges or more people charged?
I'm not going to say one way or the other. I'll just say the investigation is continuing at this point. I'm not going to tell you what I'm anticipating or not at this point.
Is there any indication who really started this of these 8 people? And there's been various, through the complaints, this person had this kind of leadership role or this kind of leadership role. Was there one point person that was really the spearhead of this?
Well, I think we've charged our first named indictment, or the first person named in the indictment is Alvarez. I think he's viewed, the shepherd is viewed as sort of a leader in this plot. That's the thing about conspiracies, and that's why conspiracies have been made, criminal conspiracies have been made illegal, right? Is once you get a bunch of people together and they start planning, you never know where the things go, right? And that leads back into the point about social media. That's only, and not social media, but social messaging apps and encrypted apps, is that's only sort of amplified this. Why do we criminalize criminal conspiracies? Is because when you get a group of people planning to do illegal acts, that's viewed as just as serious as actually completing that illegal act, right? So I think when you look at these chats, you see a lot of involvement from a lot of people, and maybe it's different levels, and you might be able to characterize one person as more of a leader, and this person was in charge of looking at drones and things of that nature. But the folks that we've charged, we believe, were all conspirators. They agreed to commit an illegal act, and they were taking overt acts in furtherance of that conspiracy.
What do you, how would you describe how likely they would have been to?
I would say it was achieve. It depends on what you mean by achieve it, but at the end of the day, I think we have evidence, and we've laid it out in the complaints and in the indictment, that these folks had amassed ammunition, had amassed weapons, were looking at 3D printers for drones, and had travel plans to go to D.C. So what would have happened or could have happened, that's never going to be clear, because thank God there was an intervention here, and this thing was disrupted. But in my view, when I look at what's been alleged there, it seems pretty likely that someone was going to, someone or multiple people were driving to Washington, D.C. to do something.
Can you talk about the concern for homegrown terrorists or extremists trying to carry out this kind of violence?
Yeah, there's always a concern for homegrown. We see that quite a bit. I think, I don't know if Jason wants to talk about this, but in my work in the past as a prosecutor with the JTTF, homegrown, we're just as concerned with homegrown as we are with an attack coming from someone overseas, obviously, right? And again, going back to the social media and the social messaging part of this, and chat rooms, and that seems to be an incubator for a lot of these ideas. People get in an echo chamber, they get together with like-minded individuals, and then they start concocting things. So we're always concerned with that. That's a major domestic terrorism, international terrorism, all sorts of terrorism we're focused on, but we're always concerned about homegrown extremists.
What does it say about the determination of these folks when, after they lost touch, according to what's in the complaint against Mr. Skaggs, after they lost touch with Mr. Proper, he was trying to find another way to get to D.C.
Right.
What does that say to you about how determined they were to execute this plan?
Yeah, I think it says a lot about that. I mean, I think it goes back to my point is this wasn't a pie in the sky type of thing. This isn't just people talking on messaging apps. These are people that were determined. Again, we had Mr. Roa get into a car in California to drive, and his car broke down, but he was on his way. Skaggs, to your point, when Proper kind of dropped off because the cops had been called, and he reported that, Skaggs was asking about how who else is going to come to pick me up so we can get out to D.C. So it goes back to the point of how likely was this? I think all those points lead to that conclusion.
You mentioned workers who weren't necessarily a part of anything and didn't participate, but were still there. Are you keeping eyes on those people?
I'll say this. I think the FBI, Secret Service, all our partners are doing a comprehensive investigation. And so I think it would be obviously irresponsible of us as federal law enforcement to not look at every single person that was potentially involved here or in these chat rooms or chat groups. With
respect to the 8 individuals, what comes next for them, and where are they being held?
Yeah, so we have 2 folks that are being held here in this district right now. We have everybody's detained, and so the other 6 are detained, but they're detained in other districts. 2 of those 6 are detained on our charges here. The other 4 were detained on complaints that were filed in those districts, and we expect them to appear on our indictment, and then eventually to be transported here to the Southern District of Ohio to appear and to face these charges. Thank you.